Hey everybody, my name is Daniel, and in this video I'm going to go over what do I have to take with me to get on and off the trail. More specifically, what do I use for airing down and airing back up. So this evolved over the years to what I have currently. It's worked for me pretty good. It gets me on and off the trail pretty quick, and they've just been tried and true over the years. With that, let's get started. So here are the items that I'll take with me on the trail. If I'm going on the trail only, then I'll take probably just this smaller setup. If I'm basically going more of a camping trip, a family style camping trip, then I don't need to do any real airing down. Maybe I might need to, but otherwise I'll just take this full-size compressor with me. I've got more room. I'll take my truck, and we have our travel trailer. It's about a 30-foot travel trailer, and I have plenty of room in there, but I need to reach the trailer tires from the vehicle. This guy just won't reach. This guy will, and especially with a 100-foot hose, it makes it real nice, real convenient. It's pretty low wattage, so it works out pretty good. What I've done in the past typically is I'd use this and just lightly push it on there just to insert onto that little Schrader valve, just to insert it, to push it in so air will come out, and then I'll be able to check it, as I inch along. One thing I've learned over the years is that I prefer a little faster thing, because usually if you're on the trail, the sand isn't so bad on your knee or anything, but you're sitting there, it takes a little while. Sand, like I said, is not too bad unless it's hot, then it gets kind of bad. Or if it's on the trailheads, a lot of times it's a gravel parking lot, that's kind of hurts your knees as well. Mainly it's, you can put down cardboard or whatever, but if you can speed up the process for a couple bucks, then hey, I think it's a good idea. So what I typically use these days, and I've used it for quite some time now, is I use this Deflator kit. It works pretty good. I've seen the ones where you just screw right on the valve stem. They work okay. I mean, I think a lot of people who use them, they like them. I prefer something that I can control along the way. This takes both. This has basically a gauge on the end, so you don't have to have a tire pressure gauge, but I still take one just in case. So I'll tell you how this operates. So this is basically the tire gauge that's on here. You use this intermittently through it. It's a way faster process than having to remove this, or even in using the key and keep checking it. So what you have is this is, of course, the tire pressure gauge, and this is how you would zero it out. You just push that. It basically bleeds the air that's in this line, so that it can get back to zero. This portion is the business end of it, as it were. There are two pieces to it. This part here opens. There's a sleeve that retracts in and out of here, this shaft. And on the front of that shaft, as you can see there's that, kind of like a little notch cut in there. That attaches to the valve stem assembly that's inside of there, and it removes the entire valve stem, but it stays locked inside this whole shaft, or this whole column that's in here, this tube that's in here. Here, you can see that little hole right there, that's what allows the air to come out. So basically there's a free passageway through there. There's nothing blocking the air coming directly from your tire all the way out through there. And then when you want to measure it, you just slide that forward. As this would be, you'd slide this forward, and then you'll see the air, it'll pressurize that line. You'll get a reading on here, and then you can know if you need to keep going or stop. So that is pretty much all there is to it. I'm gonna show you how I operate it and how quickly I'll air it down and how I check it. So what I've learned over the years with this is you move this shaft up and out of the way. That clears out your valve assembly. Otherwise, this is in the way. And when you're trying to screw it on, it's just one more thing to get in the way. It makes it a little more difficult to screw on. So pull that up and out of the way, you're in good shape. And then there's two positions this can be in. It can either be open, where it dumps air out, or closed, where it's gonna pressurize this line, like I said. If you have it in this position, you're not paying attention, when you go to remove this, it's going to immediately start dumping air out, and it'll startle you the first couple times you do it. You think you've done something wrong, but you just move it forward, it won't make any noise, and you'll be more prepared for it. So with that, and it doesn't need it until you remove the assembly through here. So let me get this in the right position so I can hold it, kind of get it straight. You don't want to cross thread it, because that'd also be bad for you. But just screw it in until it seats. It won't cut too many turns, about 4 or 5 turns, and it'll seat. You'll feel it. There's a rubber seat at the bottom of that. Wouldn't over tighten it. As always, you don't want to over tighten these things. They're brass. Like I said, move this forward. At this point, you're going to slide this in, and it's not fully seated there. There's a little air space there. a little space that you can see there. And you just kind of rotate until you feel it, and then at that point, you just kind of remove it. Should be just like that. That. And then you'll see the air pressure measurement there. And then if you pull this back, it'll dump out all that air. And you see I'm sitting at about 18, so I'm gonna keep going. And that one I'm sitting at about 12, so I'm getting close. This one is up. I'm sitting at about 8.5 to 9, I think. So that's where I want to be. So the next step you want to do is you want to reinsert your valve stem assembly into your Schrader valve, and you'll feel, I usually just push until I feel a little bit of resistance, and then I start tightening, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, of course. And then you'll feel it. Once it's in there, it'll get snug. Don't over tighten it, because you will strip that out. It's not very much metal in there. And then at that point, you can just pull it back like that. I always try to, you hear that little psst, and then you know you're good. That guy's zeroed out. And then also by pulling up here, you know that when you remove this, I always do that as a check, because if you have it in that position and you pull it back and you unscrew it and that is not actually seated and you thought you did, it'll just continue to dump out and then you'll be in bad shape. So at that point, you just remove the whole assembly and you are done. So that is all there is to that. In terms of airing up, say I'm on the beach, what I'm going to use, I'm just going to grab my air compressor. Comes in a little bag, and basically everything is in there that you need. Comes with this assembly. It has a quick disconnect, but it's the reverse of a standard air compressor. So if you have a home air compressor, none of the attachments will work. However, you could probably go and replace this and then get standard attachments to work, such as another hose and things like that. But it is tankless and it doesn't have a pressure turn off. It's going to be you turning it on or off for yourself. So what you kind of do is you watch this bounce around till you're close to the right pressure, and then you just turn it off, and then you see where it settles on, and you just kind of just do this compressor, because this is on a up and down compressor stroke. You'll see it, the needle bouncing around. So you just try to do an average in your mind where it's at, and then turn it off as you need to. So I have that guy hooked up to the battery. It's direct connect to the battery on this one, and I do that for my truck as well. Like I said, just quick disconnect there onto that. This screws on, very similar to the other guy. Very similar to the air down kit. You just screw him in, although you don't need to remove the assembly. There's a pin in there that pushes in the inside of that Schrader valve. And this, you just air back up by hitting this. I'm not going to sit there and go through the whole thing of airing it back up, but you get the concept. And the reason I chose this one is because this is a high output. It's built for larger tires. So this will take about 3.5 to 4 minutes to fill up this 33. Here's a side-by-side in terms of the quietness of the two. This one's not the loudest in the world, but it's a single piston. It does get kind of loud. This is basically the intake. That's the exhaust on it that'll be airing up your tires. This one has dual pistons on it, which tends to be a little bit quieter. From everything I read, the dual pistons tend to be a lot quieter. Picked this one up from Harbor Freight. It was about, I think right now it's listed at $139. I was able to get this for $100. I watched and waited around, and I was able to get this for $100. So if you wait, you can probably get this for $100. This one I think comes in around between 30 to 60, depending on which one you get. I've had this one forever. I've had this one since probably mid 2000s, and I've never had an issue with it. I got this, I think, from Pep Boys, but I know they have a ton of these. You can look on Amazon, you can see a ton of these online. Looks exactly the same, probably same Chinese manufacturer, and they just paint it different colors. This one is called a Master Flow, but it doesn't matter the name, they just put a different sticker on it. In terms of volume, this one is a lot louder. As you can clearly hear, it's a lot louder. So it's a lot louder. This one is a lot quieter. You can still carry on a conversation. It really impressed me once I got it or purchase it, how actually quiet it is. It has no problem at all. You get it, you sit in the back of the truck and you won't even hear it at all. So I've had no issues with it, and then it cycles off, no problem at all. One word of advice is that you'll need at least a 400 watt or greater inverter if you're going to run this in, say, a Jeep, or if your vehicle does not already have it on board. And make sure that it is in the off position before you start, because startup current, because the inverters don't immediately switch on all their power, it takes a little while for them to ramp up. If this is in the on state, the initial surge from this will be greater than a 400 watt, but if you have a larger power supply, you won't have an issue with that, or inverter, sorry. So the one on the truck, my vehicle, I noticed that it has an onboard, integrated inverter. It wouldn't power it on. I had to go back and turn the AC on and off again, leave this in the off state, turn the AC on, then flip it on, and I had no problem turning it on. So with that, that's all I really have to say about the two two items to air. This is all I have for today's video. Hopefully you'll find this useful. If you're trying to look to see if there's a better way out there, use this video. Use any other video you want to have out there. Do your own research. But this for me worked out great for me. I have better control of where I want to stop it at, and it's not only just 8 PSI or 5 or 10 PSI with the preset models. You can put it to whatever you want. I found that pretty useful. For me, that was the right answer for me. The air compressor, like I said, I have 2 different options depending on what I'm doing, and I use both, depends on the situation. And I'll put links in the description below about all the parts that I have and where I got them from, and then hopefully you'll find this useful. If you enjoyed this video and like more like this, please subscribe, click yes to this channel, and you'll be able to get more videos along this line. All right, have a good one.